What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hype Mind. I'm Bear, back here with Daniel. And today we're talking about living on your edge, what that means, how to do it, and why it's
One
important.
second. Not living on the edge, living on your edge.
That's what I said, living on your edge.
Right. I just want to make sure nobody gets confused because we sound like
I was like,
adrenaline junkies or something like that. Live on the edge.
you could call it living on the edge, though, because when you say the edge, you are referring to your edge if you're doing it right. But yes, good distinction. Good distinction. At any rate, yeah. What does that mean? How do you do it, and why is it important? You want to dive into what living on your edge means, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the best analogy to use is working out, because if you don't say you don't lift heavy enough, then you don't grow your muscles, right? So that's what you're there to do. Get bigger, get stronger. If you maybe lift too heavy, you might get injured. So you want to push it to where it's not too much, but you're still exercising and you're still growing.
Right, making
And
forward.
that's and you could apply that to other things. So going to your edge, living on the edge, so you're not stagnant and not improving. You want to be improving. You want to be doing better at things.
And there should be pain in that improvement. There should be discomfort.
Not, yeah.
Because
There
as you
is
work
a lot
out,
of
your
times,
muscles
yeah.
are going to be sore. It's going to hurt. It's going to be hard to get that last 10th rep in.
Right. And our natural reaction is to sometimes flee, to step away, whatever it is. You're working out or
Slow
you're in
down.
a uncomfortable social situation, when it's good to have this kind of like the mentality in the back of your head where it's like, okay, I'm at my edge. I'm not going to go like too far into it, but I also like this too, to lean into it, your edge. So you're not jumping off the cliff here, but you're embracing that a little bit more, so you don't miss the opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times we avoid growth, right? Bear said there's pain in growth. We avoid that because there's pain.
We do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure.
Yeah. All we need to do, and what we need to do, is actually just lean into it a little bit more.
And it's kind of a tough concept to comprehend, even with the analogy you shared, But the thing is, here's what it is. It's basically you pushing yourself forward, like Daniel said, right? Pushing yourself constantly into a state of growth, so you're continually progressing forward. The thing that comes to mind when I say that is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who somebody else is today, right? So basically, you're looking at who you were and seeing if you've improved. And if you haven't, then you probably know you're not living on your edge. And that kind of goes into how you accomplish it, right? That's kind of one of the questions you can ask yourself that helps you know if you're actually doing it, right? But the important thing is it's motion. It's movement forward. It's forward progressing movement, or the attempt thereof, right? Just like you don't know if you're going to get stronger while you're working out, you probably are, but it's the continual pushing yourself into a state of discomfort, pain, sometimes uncertainty. Honestly, the thing that comes to mind when I think of this is like investing, because people are hesitant to spend money that they don't have, or spend money that they only have so much of, on something that they might not make something back from, right? That's kind of what your edge is. It's moving beyond, it's feeling the fear, facing it anyway, feeling the fear and taking one step into it, right? Not drowning yourself in it, not walking off the cliff, but taking a step in one more step into it, right? So that you're not just feeling it, and you're not just acknowledging it, but it's actually around you.
This is about you. It's about expanding your original capacity,
right,
for whatever that is. Working out, investing, what you're comfortable with, and just stretching it a little bit so there's growth.
And I think your edge best shows itself in a lot of ways. Like, like fear would be one of them. You know, insecurities would be one of them. Um,
That's a very good
Stuff
point.
like that, right?
No, that is a very, yeah.
You know
You don't know your
either
edges until
are
you,
or aren't
yeah.
living on your edge, and you know where to start living on your edge based on these things, right? What am I afraid of? What am I not good at? Which honestly, they kind of go hand in hand, right? Because if you're afraid of being, oh, I was actually listening to a podcast today that made me think of this, right? Like, I'm not afraid to walk down the street at midnight in a neighborhood, but I'm not necessarily confident I could kick five guys butts if I got jumped, right? So like, while I'm not afraid to walk down the street, I'm definitely a little uncomfortable at the idea of being jumped by more than one guy. And so the what I'm getting at here is it's oh, there goes my train of thought again. It's recognizing that you have a fear here and recognizing that you have room for improvement, right? So it's overcoming the fear while also improving the area that you lack therein. And then when you do one, like if you recognize the fear and you do something about it, then you improve that area. Or if you improve that area, you actually become less afraid. That's that's what living on your edge looks like, a glimpse of it, right? So fearfulness, areas that you need to improve, insecurities, doubts, stuff like that. Those are the things you really have to fully step into just a little bit at a time and embrace.
Hmm. And then, yeah, that's the
But
nice thing. You say a
proactively,
little bit. You don't have to overdo it
right?
because this is like a super helpful thing to keep in mind when you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because you're overwhelmed and you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Well, just go to your edge.
Yeah.
And your edge it's different for everybody. So just go to the point where you can handle, right? Just go to the point where you have to stretch yourself just a
And
little bit.
I would say it's not even where you can handle, it's a bit beyond where you can handle, right? Go to the point where you think you can handle and go a bit beyond it because that's actually the point where you can handle, right? Just like, so you just said stretch yourself just a little bit, right? And that typically looks like the point that you can't handle. But in reality, you can handle it, right? So go to the point where you think you can handle it, stretch yourself a little bit beyond it into the point where you don't believe you can handle it. But reality is, you probably can. You probably have got it. You probably can accomplish it.
Hmm. Go to the edge and
But
lean into it
one of the big questions that remains is why? Why is this important?
because you want to be improving. Because you want to be
Yes.
10 years goes from now and you're the same old Joe.
Yeah. And that,
That's what I
you know,
think. I mean, what do you think?
well, I would agree with that, right? One, it's about improvement because improvement offers you the next level of a lot of things, but it's specifically giving, right? And that's the other reason why it's important because if you're not living on your edge, if you're not, acknowledging the fear and taking a step into it, then you really aren't able to live in a state of giving. I don't believe so anyway, right? Because you're basically closing yourself to yourself. And when you're closed to yourself, you're closed to everything else. So, how can you give if you're not even able to do that for yourself? And living on your edge, maybe you can't give a lot because you're not at that point yet, right? But living on your edge means you're able to give to yourself exactly what you need, the growth forward that you need, and the step towards giving, which is, you exist to give back. You've been given lots of beautiful things and you exist to serve on this earth. And so how can you do that if you're not doing that, right? And so living on your edge enables you either to in that moment or to in the future serve the world in the way you were meant to serve, right? Or how some people would call it, your purpose. It allows you to move towards or fulfill your purpose. That's I would say why it's important, on top of the growth aspect that you mentioned, Daniel.
Gotcha.
Let's go into how you do that. I mean, we kind of talked about that, but are there any like easy tips that you'd recommend on how to accomplish that on a day-to-day basis
Right,
that
right, right.
doesn't feel
It's
challenging?
good question. Now, it's more of a personal thing. I don't at the top of my head, I don't think I could give any like tips out to others except for the except for the idea of just being aware, like starting
Yeah,
to be aware of what's my edge, like how am I feeling in the situation? Is
yeah.
this am I stretching myself? Do I feel some stress here?
Am I
Can
running?
I lean forward into it?
Am I closing up? Yeah,
So the biggest thing is awareness, just self awareness.
that's a great word. I wasn't going to use that word, but that is a great word to describe it. Because I was going to say basically the same thing. It starts with you thinking you know what your edge looks like confidently, right? Not BSing yourself, not being ignorant and just guessing it, but genuinely thinking this is what my edge looks like. And of course, you do that by being aware, like Daniel's saying. And so, once you're aware of that, you can be like, my edge looks like facing this problem, or growing in this area, or confronting this fear, or dealing with this insecurity. And so once you're aware of that, you can actually step into it. And so, yeah, I really don't think there's anywhere better to start than that awareness, that level of consciousness.
Right,
Um,
right. One more
of
thing to add too is that whenever you notice moments of um like of you wanting to flee, of you wanting to just run away from a situation or not engage in what seems like a stressful activity, linger there a little bit longer, right? Push your edge a little bit more
yeah,
because that could be a huge growth opportunity that you missed out on.
it could be the signal of exactly what you need to face or do.
Right. You know, it's funny because my boss, I had a boss a while ago, and he would say this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he would say, someone usually quits before something amazing happens.
That's a great point. Yeah,
And that, I mean, that right there, I don't know if he said that to try to um, try to keep his employees, but that could be true in a lot of situations,
well, it's
right?
definitely a tactic for accomplishing things. But it's true. I've heard that phrased in a lot of different ways. I've heard it phrased that way too. Um, but that's exactly it. Most people who quote unquote succeed by other people's definition are people who didn't quit when everybody else did quit. You know, and I think that's a great example of what facing your edge looks like. When you're most beaten down, when you're most exhausted, when you're most liable to quit, that's when you really need to be like, you know what, I can definitely keep standing in this situation just a
Right.
little longer, or I can definitely push a little harder.
Right. And
And
that's
that's
it.
what,
It
yeah,
might be just that simple because you'd usually take a step back, but your
yeah.
edge is to stay there.
It's it's funny. This might be the shortest episode we've shot, and
Not
yet
if
it's
you
one of
keep
the most
talking.
important topics out there. But yeah, that's funny. But at any rate, you know, my point in bringing that up is this isn't an insignificant or minor subject. Your ability to live on your edge is your ability to experience life at its fullest. It's your ability to grow at your maximum capacity, even if you're only stepping a little bit into your edge. It's your ability to open up to all the stuff that's going on around you, even when you don't enjoy all the stuff that's going on around you. It's your ability to ultimately fulfill your role in serving the world by meeting or approaching your purpose. And so it's not something to take lightly. It's very important. And with every important thing, of course, it's difficult to comprehend and um, how do you word this? Comprehend and establish in your life, and to make a practice. So
Yeah.
I think the
Good
silence
stuff.
says we did it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching the Hype Mind. Peace.